Hey, what is up everyone? In this video we are taking these, the 361 Flame, the carbon plated racing shoe from 361. We're going to be taking these along to a half marathon in Essex to find out what they are like as a racing shoe. Welcome everybody to the Essex half marathon and marathon, and in this video we're going to be testing out these, the 361 Flame, which is the carbon plated racing shoe from the guys at 361. So the plan is as following. I'm going to be pacing someone today for a sub 2 half marathon, which I appreciate is fast for some people and slow for others. But today, the idea is to give these shoes a sort of race simulation while we're here. Go through different paces, because I'm going to be mucking about with the camera and stuff like that. So I'm going to be almost doing intervals at some point. But yeah, we're going to be doing a half marathon in the shoe. I'm going to finish the race, you get that done, then we're going to head back to the studio and I'll let you know how we got on with the 361 Flame. Right, so I better get to the start line. I'll catch you guys after the race when we go through a bit of a debrief on what the shoe was like. So we are back people, and here is the bling. Not bad, hey? Look at this though, look. I'll tell you what is really cool on the ribbon, look. Spitfire. Let me know in the comments what races have good bling. Let me know in the comments. And while you're down there, tell me, have you got any 361 shoes? Have you ever heard of 361? Do you know what they are, who they are, and all that sort of stuff? Basically, 361 is a Chinese company. They're quite big in China in terms of fitness and running stuff. But they've also sort of expanded into Europe. We've done some reviews on shoes on the channel before, but this shoe is their carbon plated racing marathon super shoe, so to speak. But yeah, there's a little bit about 361. Chinese company, expanded over here in Europe, and they're all over Instagram and Facebook and all that sort of stuff. They're having a massive push over here, and they make some good shoes. But this video is all about this, the 361 Flame, the carbon plated racing shoe, which I've mentioned before. Before we get into how I got on in that race and what it was like and all that sort of stuff, and by the way, I've done a couple of other runs in these shoes as well, but we're going to focus in on how it was like, what it was like over those 13.1 miles. But let's get the stats and features done first. It's quite interesting what they've come up with this shoe, so let's get stuck in. Okay, so firstly, price. This shoe is £160 here in the UK, if you can get it. There are some issues because of Brexit in terms of getting hold of it, but it's £160 here in the UK. Firstly, the upper, you've got a monomesh upper on the shoe, so think Nike Vaporfly. We'll come on to that in a second. We've got a newly developed PU midsole material called Quick Flame. That's extremely springy and apparently 45% lighter than traditional EVA while still being durable. Basically, this PU is nitrogen infused, so I'll come on to that in a little bit. We've got an engineered full-length carbon fibre quick bone plate strategically placed between 2 layers of the Quick Flame. I'll show you that as well, and tuned to provide assisted propulsion. They're talking mainly about toe off here. We've got an advanced collar structure lined with foam. A little bugbear, but I'll come on to that as well. What else? 8mm drop. We've got stack of 24 and 32, and it's weighing 218 grams US. 9. Okay, so quick foam first. So this is the quick foam, and we've got the 2 layers here. So I don't know if it's going to come out on the camera, but we've got this little bit here that goes all around, and then you've got the other piece there. And in there, down here, is the carbon plate, which you can see under there. See it? Big hole in the middle, carbon fibre plate under there. So this is a nitrogen infused PU material. So on the outsole we've got this bits of rubber here and here, plenty of traction actually. I'll come on to that in terms of the course, because it was a little bit slippery in places. Then you've got obviously loads of exposed midsole, monomesh upper, which is very, very similar to the original Vaporfly Next Percent, which is like that vaporwave material. This is what it feels like here, and it's a bit like what you get on the Addy Zero Pro as well. So kind of a mixture, and actually looking at them as well, the Skechers Razor Elite. So it's that mono mesh material. There's plenty of flex in there, and what I found actually, this shoe fits true to size. This is a UK 9.5 for me. There's plenty of width in there. There's plenty of wiggle room in the upper. And yeah, it's breathable. It was a warm day when we did that 13.1 miles. Well, warm, but it was like warmer than we've had because we've come out of winter. And what else? We've got structure in the eyelets. Again, very similar to the Nike Vaporfly Next Percent in terms of structure around the eyelets. The tongue is a paper thin tongue, which is not gusseted, but it just lays over the top of your foot like that. You've got these bits of foam around the collar in there, and I'm going to show you something in a second about that once we've got the stats and features out of the way. I told you about the fit. It does feel very light in hand. I mentioned that the weight is nice and light. It's not like super light, but it's, you know, it's enough, you know. It is what it is. It's not going to ever be heavy, this shoe, because it's designed for those races and events. What else? I think you've got that. You don't really notice the stack height. The laces are terrible in these shoes. I would say that straight away, actually, before we get on to how it feels and stuff. These have undone about 3 or 4 times, and I do a double knot, and they've undone themselves 3 or 4 times since I've been running in the shoe, which is really annoying. So just bear that in mind. They're like a slippery material, like, almost like silk. They're just rubbish. So my advice to you is, if you get this shoe, is to switch them out. Okay, I think that is the stats and features done of the shoe. So let's get on to how it feels, how it got on, all that sort of stuff next. Okay, so stats and features done. So right, where do we stop? Okay, so talks about fit and stuff like that. So in terms of price point, the reason why I wanted to get this shoe was because firstly, I'm a big fan of 361, but also in terms of price point. Now this shoe is a, bear with me, a budget carbon plated racing shoe. It's 150, 160 pounds. So we're looking at that sort of Saucony speed area. It's cheaper than a fuel cell TC. We're in line with sort of the Hoka Rocket X. Let me know in the comments. I can't remember the price of the Rocket X and the Carbon X2. Let me know in the comments. But it's definitely on the bottom end of the range in terms of price point, which is very interesting. You know, you think you've got, well, that's the original version, but you've got like £209 for the Vaporfly. So it's definitely coming in under that. So I wanted to try it out because to find out whether it offers us everyday runners a sort of budget alternative for carbon plated racing shoes. And that's why I wanted to take it along to the 13.1 miles and put it through a sort of race. Now, I wasn't going in that race at my sort of optimal speed. If you're new to the channel, I run a half marathon in around 140. My PB is 138, but I run it in about 140, 145, something like that. So for 2 hours for me, I was relatively easy, but I appreciate that's fast for some people and slow for others. So, but I wanted to put it through a race simulation. Now, through that race, I was speeding up, slowing down as I was filming and mucking about. You'll see on the footage we did at the start of the channel. So I got a bit of a gauge on where the shoe's at in terms of these sort of hyper shoes and performance and responsiveness from it during that event. So let's get on to the quick foam first. So this lightweight PU midsole is responsive. There's no denying that. The way they've created it, set it up nice and light with the carbon plate, it is definitely a responsive ride. What I did notice from my part was it lacked a sort of rocker sensation that you get with like the Saucony Endorphin shoes, and particularly the Speed. I really find that shoe really takes me through in terms of heel to toe transition, and I was sort of not feeling that in the shoe. Again, wasn't going full out, so maybe as I come into it, but I have done 2 other runs in this shoe, only 4 miles and 3 miles. One of them was at relatively strong pace, and I still didn't feel that roll as much as I do in the Saucony Endorphin Speed. So that is one thing going against it, apart from the laces. But in fairness to the midsole, it was responsive, and it wasn't as soft feeling as the Endorphin Speed. Now I don't count the Endorphin Speed as a particularly soft shoe versus like a Fuel Cell, but it is a nice spongy kind of compound. It's just sweet the way they've made it. And they've done a good job with the shoe, with the midsole. It is responsive enough. There's enough cushioning in there, but if you're new to the channel, I do like a slightly firmer ride, and they've created a nice blend between the two here with this, with the carbon plate, which is nice and stiff. And you do feel stable in it, if that makes any sense. I feel like I was sort of really here, nice and stable. Some of these shoes, in particular like the Zoom X, you can sort of wander around. The amount of people I saw at the event who were like pronating like this as they were going along, or like this in those shoes, it drives me mad why they're wearing those. Well, I get it, because it's a super fast shoe, but it can't be doing you any good. But this does feel really stable underfoot. That is one thing I really noticed with it, and that's my sort of biggest compliment to the shoe, is how kind of stable I felt in the shoe. For me, really here, again, I wasn't, you know, on my toes gunning it, but at this sort of strike here, so like midfoot strike, so let's say if you're sort of easy pace, or you're really tired towards the end of the race and you're sort of midfoot striking, it definitely felt stable. I could really feel the sort of support almost from the shoe, and it was quite comforting. The toe off was okay. I say I wasn't feeling the roll, but when I did pick up the pace, you know, when I was zooming off and filming bits and bobs, it picked it up, and it does feel a quick shoe. There's no denying that with the lightness. But I do think even there are faster shoes out there. So the Endorphin Speed, I would always send you towards the Endorphin Speed over this. And that's not to say anything bad about this shoe, because I think what 361 done here is they've done a good job at a good price point. And if you can't get on with Saucony Speed, Endorphin Speed, maybe they're too narrow, or you're just not digging it, then this is a very, very good alternative. And I think that's probably the best way to sort of sum it up in a way, is buy the Saucony Endorphin Speed for £155 if you want some form of plated training and racing shoe. This is like, for example, I think much better than the Fuel Cell TC from New Balance, because the TC is so unstable in the Fuel Cell, and it's a lot cheaper, and it's a lot lighter, I think. Let me know in the comments. And the upper's better. But I do think as an alternative to an Endorphin Speed, this gives you an option. And I think that's the best way to leave. Oh, before we do go, I did want to tell you one annoying thing. Now I'm going to put a picture up somewhere on the screen. There seems to be a little bit of a problem in terms of how it looks around your ankle. See what I mean on the Now I had no problems with the fit. It wasn't sliding around the mono mesh or anything like that. It was locked in. But I did notice, see the ill fitting of the shoe. And I don't know whether that's just bad quality or the way they've been packaged and sent to me. But can you see what I mean? It was a little bit annoying. But yeah, that's one thing I did want to say, because it did mention, where's the marketing stuff about this collar fit? Where was it? Advanced collar structure line with specifically designed foam to secure the heel during fast runs. But you can see where it's sort of bulging out. But I had no issue in terms of slippage. So in fairness to it, I had no issues there. It's interesting, I've tore it up a bit there. See that? Tore it up a bit there. And annoyingly, the course that I was running in was in a disused airfield, which you saw on the B-Run. If you've not seen the full video, check it out. But I was getting the rocks, I had it twice, stuck in here. Really annoying. So if you're running somewhere that's got a lot of rocks and stones, it's a bit like on running shoes, you get the stuff stuck in them. I got that stuck in there a couple of times. But apart from that, I mean, it's a bit unfair to give it a sort of wear and tear rating. I know some people have said before with 361 shoes, the wear and tear is not too great on them. I've had no problems with the shoes that I've had. We've got the Robust Tech outsole on here. I mean, they could have shaved weight really, but for me, there was plenty of traction, plenty of grip on that surface that was, and I mentioned it earlier, was quite slippery because of the amount of gravel and stuff on the disused airfield. So, you know, in fairness, that did hold on. But yeah, it's interesting that that's tearing up a little bit there. It shows you how bad my pronation is when I was going slower, because of the fact that I've worn that one out. So yeah, whittled on as always too much. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about the look of the shoe? I think it looks awesome. It does come in another colour. I think it's like a black grey. But I think, to conclude finally, we get there in the end, people, buy the Saucony Endorphin Speed. If you've got £155 to spend on a running shoe and you want a plated fast shoe, buy the Saucony Endorphin Speed. But if you don't get on with the Saucony Endorphin Speed because it's not for everyone and you're looking for an alternative, and maybe you're looking at the New Balance Fuel Cell TC, or you're looking at maybe the Hoka shoes or something like that, this is a good alternative to look at. It's wide enough, there's plenty of room in the upper, the monomesh does a good job, the laces are rubbish, get ready for it, but overall the feel from the shoe, you know, it's a fast shoe, there's no denying it. I did feel fast in it and I wanted to pick the pace up. I was able to pick the pace up. I felt the, you know, the pop from the plate. I was getting the responsiveness from the quick foam, and it's nice and light. So what else do you want really from a shoe? So I'm going to be using these for mainly training. This is where the shoe is going to be used for me. Like I said, I think in a video, I can't even remember when it was, I'm looking to put more sort of carbon plated shoes into my training, in particular over the next 12 weeks. So this is where the shoe is going to be used for me. I'm not going to use it in any races going forward now. I'm just going to be using this for training. It fits in along the lines of the Puma Deviate Nitro. So that's again a good comparison for this shoe. So there you go, people. It's a good alternative to 361 Flames, to some, or Flame even, to some of the other shoes out there. It's not the holy grail of running shoes. It's not the, you know, the next best thing in terms of carbon plated running shoes, but I do think it offers some good value at £159. It could be worth checking out if you're looking for something that little bit different.